Like they call it the doghouse.
Okay, it is time for the fight that we have all been waiting for. Oleksandr Usyk versus Tyson Fury for the undisputed heavyweight championship in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And we've been waiting a long time. This fight has been delayed, cancelled. Tyson Fury pulled out. Negotiations broke down. It looked like we're never going to get this fight, but it's finally here. And I think, to me, usually I always feel like these type of fights should be in the UK or the US. However, I'll give the Saudi Arabia and the His Excellency one thing. They have done a great job, I think, promoting this fight and really building it up. And to me, I think we're at a point now where it's Thursday when I'm recording this. I don't think that anybody's pulling out at this point. I hope not anyway. You had some obviously controversy in fact with John Fury headbutting one of Usyk's team and then bleeding himself, but John Fury will do whatever he does for the attention. But ultimately, it's about Fury and Usyk, and this fight is it's one of those fights that I feel as if we're fortunate to see, because I do think we've seen two excellent fights and two very unique heavyweights going at it. Tyson Fury is probably one of the largest heavyweights you will ever see, who moves a lot quicker than he should do, and a very extravagant character. And obviously Oleksandr Usyk coming up from cruiserweight, possibly the greatest cruiserweight of all time, and now looking to become undisputed at heavyweight. Only Terence Crawford has done both, been undisputed in two weight divisions, so he can be the second to do it. And yeah, I think this is a really intriguing fight. When I do these previews, I always look at like three things to consider. But I think for this fight, because there's so many things that go into it, I'm just going to look at the points that I can kind of think of where I feel both fighters can exploit. Because if you look at the way they both fight, there are some similarities, but ultimately there are. The way Tyson Fury fights, he's a good boxer, but he can't box the way Usyk can, and he also, in the same breath, Usyk I don't think can fight the way Fury can either. I think they both got a lot of strengths and flaws. I think Tyson Fury, obviously the bigger man. If you look at the tail of the tape here, Tyson Fury naturally has an 85-inch reach advantage, with Usyk has 78. 6'9", Tyson Fury. I don't know how accurate this is for the record. This is a sun here, but 6'9" compared to Usyk's 6'3", so there isn't really a lot of room for Usyk to really touch Tyson Fury here. He's obviously going to be very methodical, but an intriguing fight nonetheless. Obviously, Usyk in his last fight fought Daniel Dubois, where he got the stoppage in the end. There was a moment where it looked like Dubois kind of knocked him down, even though it was a low blow, but a pretty routine win for Usyk. No real problems in that fight. And then for Tyson Fury, his last fight was the absolute embarrassment. That was the Francis Ngannou fight, where Fury arguably lost the fight and obviously got put down. Forget what round it was, so he got put down, but it was quite early on. And it got made to look even worse when Anthony Joshua then went in and absolutely iced Francis Ngannou and beat him within 2 rounds with relative ease. And I think for Tyson Fury, there is a real... I don't know, I feel like he has the most to prove in this fight. I feel the pressure is on him. He's the bigger man. He is the big name. If he loses, he knows there'll be a lot of scrutiny on him. Everybody will say there's a reason why you never tried to fight Usyk. And for Oleksandr Usyk, I kind of feel as if there's pressure for sure, but I don't think it's as heavy as it is on Fury. But we'll see. I mean, obviously both these guys want to win, but I do feel like Usyk, there isn't as much pressure on him. But yeah, and obviously when you look at both of these guys' resume, Fury's biggest wins have been against Wilder and against Klitschko, and for Usyk, his biggest wins were obviously against Anthony Joshua and against... there's a few, obviously Gassiev was there, but I think Tony Bow, you could argue, is his biggest because of the pressure in that fight, and both fights he did excellent. So I think Usyk really is a master in there, and it feels like we are watching two guys, because I often feel with Fury and Usyk that there's rarely a fight where they've not been in control. This would be the first time I think both these guys are fighting someone else who is almost used to having the control in the ring. So that's a really interesting proposition. But regardless, so going into where I feel both fighters are going to have strengths and weaknesses. If we start with Usyk, one thing Usyk has over Fury is quicker, better footwork, and a better boxer. So naturally, I think he will try to box him. However, in order to really, I think, be assertive in his fight, I think he does need to go forward, and I think he will go forward, in fact. And I do think that's what he needs to do to really get Tyson Fury's respect in this one. Ultimately, he is a smaller man, and Fury long arms a lot of people. He's very much, he fights at the end of his... he fights almost with the opponent right at the end of his arm, rather than coming inside, really. And I think it's going to be an intriguing battle to see how Usyk manages this. I think one thing Usyk also needs to do is make sure his foot position is always going to be on the outside of Fury, not the inside, because I feel Usyk does a great job of sort of pouring his jab out there and making sure his opponents are never too far for him to hit, but then too close for them to hit him, if you know what I mean. He knows how to manage distance brilliantly, and I think Usyk and his engine as well is going to be a big thing. So I think if you could sort of just go forward, I think staying on the almost front foot of Fury's, and I also think one thing that will be big in this one, I think you're going to be able to tire Fury out if you just keep moving. And I think it's not really something I've got to say with Usyk because it does it anyway, but I think just constantly circling and keep Fury guessing, because mentally Usyk just tires you out the same way that Lomachenko does to people. And I think Tyson Fury is a good boxer, but I don't think he'll know how to deal with someone like Usyk. And I think with that, if you can just keep him guessing, I think ultimately in the end you will tire him out. And I think Tyson Fury does get very sloppy at times in there. We saw this in the Ngannou fight. So an intriguing proposition to see how Usyk does handle this one, especially with the height. I think there's a lot of... With Joshua never really used his height and size against Usyk, but I feel like Fury really will. And I'd be interested to see how Usyk does handle that. But because they do say, the old adage, a good big man will beat a good little man, but I would argue this is a good big man against a great little man, but I guess we'll see in this one. But then we look at Tyson Fury. I think for Fury, you can't box Usyk, it's going to be the same as Steve Cunningham, and he's going to just pick you apart. I think you've got to be aggressive and try and go forward and make it a real war. And I think the other thing you have to do if you're Tyson Fury, to me, is I feel like everybody says it, but how he'll implement it, I'm not sure. But I think going to the body is the obvious one. Anthony Joshua in that second fight had me losing my mind, because anytime he went to the body, he did have success, but for whatever reason, Joshua had the physique and the style to sort of go to the body, but I don't know, he never did it. But Fury, I think, should do it, and I think it would be the right thing. And then I think as well, if you're Tyson Fury, I think leaning on Usyk and using all your weight to slow him down. If you can hit the body, slow him down, that engine of his is going to slowly start to slow down. And I think once that happens, that's when Fury will be able to get the shots, because as good as Usyk is, he's not untouchable. You can hit him in there. It's just about finding the right openings. But yeah, I think for Fury, I just think that the most important thing is going to be making this a horrible fight. Whereas for Usyk, I feel as if you fight your normal fight, I think honestly it should be enough. But I feel like it's an intriguing one. I do think that Fury has the edge in some senses, and I think Usyk does as well. Fury's also got a cut over, I don't know if it's left or right eye. That could be something to watch out for. I think Usyk has a fantastic jab, and he does an excellent job of utilising and landing that backhand. So I think if Fury isn't completely aware how to handle that, I think it's going to be a problem. I think Fury may find it difficult against a boxer like Usyk, who, like I said, is always in control and can move the way he can. But an intriguing scenario, because ultimately Usyk has never fought somebody as big as Fury. And ultimately, he was a cruiserweight, and I don't know if a cruiserweight really has the ability to completely dominate someone like Tyson Fury. He may do. We may be looking at a very special fighter, but it is certainly a intriguing scenario. Usyk's body has looked vulnerable at times, and I think if Fury really does target and catch him with the right shot, I could see him dropping Usyk. And I feel like some people obviously overrate it, but I think some people also underplay it. To me, it's a weakness. It's not like an Amir Khan type situation when you just touch him on the chin, he goes down. But it's certainly, like, I think the old adage is, if you're weak to the body, you would have a strong chin, and if you got a strong chin, if you're weak to the body, you got a strong chin. Yeah. And then if you've got a weak chin, you're going to be stronger to the body. Yeah. And Usyk has a fantastic chin. He took some big shots from Anthony Joshua, but was still standing, whereas his body looks a little bit wary at times. And there was a big moment, I think it was the second or first Joshua fight, where Joshua hit him to the body and they scored it a low blow. So he don't really like them body shots, and I think because he has such a great engine as well, it's not ideal for him. But and to his credit, he doesn't have like a style where his body's always exposed, but you know, you can always kind of find and pick holes in him. And I think because Fury's so long, he will be able to land that jab to the body, which I would watch out for if I was Usyk, because I think it's going to be a big weapon of Fury's. But yeah, just my sort of thoughts on what I feel both of these guys need to do. A fight like this is a massive fight. I think it should have the attention that it deserves. Now, if I look into my prediction of the fight, I personally think this fight will go... It'll go one of two ways. And it's going to sound obvious when I say this, but I think Tyson Fury will do that, will rough up Usyk, and then possibly hurt him or knock him down. And I think that will sway the fight in his favour. And then I think you can see Usyk may slowly come back into it, but I think Fury could just do enough. Keep him at range and be aggressive and ultimately, like I said, be the bigger man in there. Or Fury maybe does alright, but then Usyk slowly starts to come into it, and then eventually once Usyk starts picking up, he picks Fury apart, and then he kind of will either get a stop your decision. But I feel like in my mind, I think Fury will start off quick and strong in this fight. I don't see a scenario where he doesn't. Maybe he does start off slow, who knows, but Fury often fights the level of his opposition. Klitschko and Wilder were his best performances because they were the two best guys he fought. Against his Chisoras, against Otto Wallin, even against Francis Ngannou, you saw he didn't perform to the level that he can do, because I think he didn't take those guys as seriously. But he always does that, Fury, and I think he'll start off strong against Usyk. I think he'll just realise that Usyk may be a bit different to these guys he fought. Usyk does have a weakness in the body, you can't deny it, but I just depends how big a weakness. And God honest truth, I don't think Fury's really got the style. He's never been a crazy body puncher, Fury. I know people say he knocked down Wilder with a body shot, but it was more of one of those where Wilder was just going down anyway, and the Fury kind of just cracked him with the body and he put him down. But it wasn't a brutal body shot. You never see Fury hitting people to the body like the way someone like a Canelo or Errol Spence does it. So I don't think you can really bank on Fury being a crazy body puncher in this fight. And yeah, an intriguing one. I do think that cut could be something to watch out for, especially against the master like Usyk. And yeah, I do wonder in this one if Tyson Fury physically is the same. I'm going to give my prediction, but I feel like Tyson Fury, his lifestyle has caught up with him a little bit of getting drunk and getting big outside of camp. And I feel like now, against Ngannou and against Chisora, he looked very slow. And I feel like that Fury who was against Klitschko is completely gone. And I think if he was here, he could give Usyk a real hard time, but he isn't. And I think he's slower. He's more of a plodder now, doesn't really move his feet as much. And to me, I feel like he's slowing down Fury, and I do think this is the perfect guy for Usyk to kind of showcase his talents, because I think he's a horrible matchup for Fury in that sense. In another sense, Usyk's a smaller guy, and I think Fury may have his way with him a bit easier, but then physically, but then it just depends if he's able to impose his size on Usyk. It's a real tough one to call in that sense. However, I'm gonna say that I think Oleksandr Usyk actually gets a stoppage in the 10th round, because there's a few reasons. Like I said, I think Fury's slowing down. I don't think he's anywhere near as active as he once was. He hasn't fought for so long, and he's obviously always getting out of shape. 2, I said Tyson Fury fights to the level of his opposition, and no doubt he takes Oleksandr Usyk serious. However, I've often said, and I will say this even now as the fight's about to happen, I don't think Tyson Fury wants to fight Oleksandr Usyk. He wanted to fight Anthony Joshua. Tyson Fury, to me, what motivates him to take fights are the ones that excite him. I think he looked at Wilder, big guy, American, he can speak a lot, knocks people out, you can sell that fight, and he was just coming back after a long layoff. It worked, and then he obviously had the fights after that, which just built up onto the story. Vladimir Klitschko, he had beaten him, well, he wanted to beat him for so long. He was the king of the hill, he beat him, that excited him. I think even Dylan White, a British clash, I think these sort of things excite Fury. I don't think Usyk ever did, and that's why I think he wanted Joshua to win that fight. And now looking at it, I just still don't think he wants to fight. He said himself that a fight with Usyk isn't interesting because he doesn't speak English or whatever. So I think these things are going to be a factor. I just don't think Fury wants to beat Usyk as much as Usyk wants to beat him. I think Usyk really wants to be undisputed. Whereas for Fury, I think it's a financial thing. Now, that may not be relevant in the fight. Maybe Fury comes in and knocks him out, but I think Usyk does enough to get it done. I think Fury starts off strong, but I think as the fight goes on, Usyk grows and grows into it, and then slowly starts to pick Fury apart. And then there's a point in the fight we're going to get 7th, 8th round where Fury is almost gasping for air. Usyk's cracking the body, landing a jab. I can see him going down. It won't be like Usyk hits him with a big shot and he goes. I feel like it'll be a cumulative effect, and then eventually Fury will get hit with a straight left. He's backing up, and then Usyk hits him with a right hook, and then the Fury goes down, and then I could just see then Usyk just swarming him, seeing that undisputed gold in lights, and then a referee just jumps in and stops it. But I wouldn't be shocked if Fury got the win, but I do favour Usyk in this one. I think he's got the form, momentum, and I just think he wants it more. I feel Fury is slowly on the way out. I think he has a lot more fights left, but I just don't feel mentally he's there at the moment. I could be wrong though. Physically, I just think he's slowing down. But an interesting fight. Let me know what you think. It's going to be an amazing event. It's the first time we've got an undisputed heavyweight champion since Lennox Lewis. The belt's going to get disbanded after this anyway. I think it's Joshua fighting Dubois or Hergovich for the IBF belt. So yeah, interesting fight. FuryUsyk. Let me know what you think. I'll do a review afterwards, obviously. And yeah, until next time.